Hey, good evening, folks. Welcome to the pre-show, which lasts for about another 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. How y'all doing? Happy Friday evening. Just making sure I'm all set up. We are set up there. We are streaming to the server. We go live at 4 minutes and 25 seconds after the hour. So how's everybody doing? So I've got Uncle Dave is here. He is upstairs, and he'll be joining us for the captain's cabin afterwards. My daughters Abby and Bryn are on. They're probably already on their way from the airport out here now, and they will be joining us in the captain's cabin tonight. How about that? What are you up to?
I'm going to watch the fireworks.
Okay. You going to go somewhere, or are you going to do it from here?
I don't know where we're going.
Because they're going to be right over there.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going.
All right. We'll go have fun.
Okay.
Bye. I love you. All right. It's pea soup days here in Somerset, Wisconsin. It's a heritage thing. Trust me, I don't know all the ramifications. I don't know all the history of it. But they must have been forced to, the German settlers of Somerset 150 years ago or whenever it was. I think they were forced to live off of pea soup for a long period of time. So now we have pea soup days to honor them. Pea soup days. Rainey's going to be a barmaid at the beer booth tomorrow night. So she said, I got to go get some new shirt, a new shirt for being a barmaid. I'm like, yes. So that's going on. And Flynn did his stint today in the pea soup booth. And it earns him money for his Boy Scout stuff. So that's pretty good. I love pea soup too, Barbie D. Hey, Matt Finn, Master Finn, Ryan Gale, Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave, it's good to see you. He's right upstairs. All right, folks, we're going to go dark for a few minutes and we're going to go live on air. So stand.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Happy Friday evening, folks. Welcome to my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on Odyssey Radio. That's ODYSY radio.com. Go on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. That's where you can hear this show live 5 nights a week in audio format only. It's a radio station. And you can also join us in 2 different ways to view the video simulcast of this over on Facebook at facebook.com/Odyssey Radio, and also at over at youtube.com youtube.com/Scotty Roberts, where you can join the chat room inhabited by fellow Intrepheads watching this show. And you can put your 2 cents worth and you can watch from over there. You don't have to join the chat room, but it's kind of nice if you would. Get to meet some of the Intrepheads over there and join the conversation. At the same time, while you're there, you can like the broadcast, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And if you're not a member of the channel, click the little join button down here. And you'll be able to see 3 different ways to join the channel. And so there we go. Uncle Dave was saying we've got a new perk for joining the channel. If you want to come over and help do dishes at my house prior to the show, you can become a member of this channel. That's a reward, folks. So, hey to everybody over there in the chat room. It's good to talk to you all. Good to have you here as people are filtering in. And how was your day? What did you do today? It was a gorgeous Friday here. Getting a little warmer. It's not too hot yet. We're getting a little bit of that edge of, I'm humidity and I'm lurking. I'm going to take you by surprise. It's going to be a nice 72-degree day and low humidity. And the next day, after a rainstorm, it's going to be 100 degrees and 98% humidity and dew points. And it will be that way for the rest of the summer into the autumn. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, that's not going to happen anytime soon. Iowa X, good to see you over there in the chat room. Barbie D, Uncle Dave, of course, Matt Finn. And who else is showing their face tonight over in there? All of yous. Ryan Gale, good to see you. So everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for filtering in. Thanks for being part of the show. Thanks for being part of my life. And I'm Scotty Roberts, if I didn't say that. I did announce the show name, but I'm Scotty Roberts, if you didn't know that. And by the way, to quote a good friend of mine who called me today, he said, rather tongue-in-cheek, he yelled when I picked up the phone. He goes, "What the F is the problem with Scotty Roberts?" I said, yeah, what the F is the problem? And of course, we used the word. We didn't just use the initials. We're adults. We're grown-ups. We can handle harsh language. And of course, that was all. That was my friend who had been acquitted, found innocent, maintained innocent by a jury of his peers unanimously earlier this week. And we get all kinds of feedback. He gets more feedback than I do on this. People watching stuff, and some of the people just don't like what I have to say about it. What the F is the problem with Scotty Roberts? Well, that's the big question. So we're going to print that on a t-shirt. Maybe that'll be the new t-shirt for this show. What the F is the problem? I could step right out and I could say fuck, but I'm not allowed to. So what's the fucking problem with Scotty Roberts? There it goes. There, now you have it. Now you get the full effect. Now let's move on from that. So like I said, we've got Dave Potter. Uncle Dave is sitting upstairs. He's going to join us for the captain's cabin. You can see him in the chat room right now. We've got him upstairs because he can be on his own equipment up there and broadcast to me down here. And we also have my daughters. They have flown in from North Carolina. They've got some functions on Sunday that they need to attend for their mother's side of the family. And so they've flown in. They're going to stay here tonight and tomorrow night. So they'll be here all day tomorrow for pea soup days. So they're going to be, they're on their way here from the airport right now. So we're going to see them tonight. We'll talk to them a little bit about Finfolk in the captain's cabin, which takes place after this show goes off the air over on Odyssey Radio. So we've been talking about the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. We're going to jump into this right away tonight, without further fanfare. And, there's things we got to take care of when we're talking on radio. I don't always like to just jump into a topic. This isn't like a lecture, like you come in and you turn on welcome to the show, turn in your syllabus to page 43 where we left off and start talking. I like to talk about other junk too. We haven't done reasons to have spark courage Remember those? Got those over here. We're not going to do it tonight, but we'll do some of these again. Spark Courage. 50 Ways to Be Bold. We got to talk more about that too. We got other things to talk about. We got paranormal news to talk about, stuff like that. But I want to get into this tonight because we'll be doing Captain's Cabin afterwards with my kids, and I think that'll be kind of fun. And Michelle Cannon Free, welcome over there, by the way, in the chat room. And so we left off talking about last night, finishing up his first section, what's been divided into the first section of the meditations, which was his debts and his lessons, all the debts and lessons that he learned from people. We kind of left off with the gods. We didn't really finish that one. I can do that right now very quickly. He says, what else was he indebted to the gods for? That even though I was often upset with Rusticus, I never did anything I would have regretted later. Can you say that about yourself? When you're pissed off at somebody or upset with somebody, can you say later, I was upset, but I didn't do anything I would have regretted? And he was reminding himself, by writing this, reminding himself that this is the way he needs to be. That even though she died young, at least my mother spent her last years with me. That whenever I felt like helping someone who was short of money or otherwise in need, I never had to be told that I had no resources to do it with. I thank the gods for that. And that I was never put in that position myself or having to take something from someone else. He's thankful to the gods for that, indebted to them for that. That I have a wife, I do. That I have the wife, I do. That I have the wife, I do. That I have the wife, that I have a wife, I do. I could say that. He's saying that I have the wife, I do. Obedient, loving, humble. Oh, does that make you ladies bristle out there? I've got the wife, I do. She's obedient. She's humble. She's loving. So obedient to whom, you might ask? Remember, different times. He's also emperor. So he was thankful for his wife. Whatever words you want to use to describe, extrapolate those into modern day speak. I'm thankful I have the wife I do. She's loving. She's humble. She's a pain in the ass. She sometimes does what I ask, mostly tries to tell me what to do. Other than that, she's amazing. So that's kind of my paraphrase of what Marcus Aurelius said. That my children had competent teachers. He says, remedies granted through dreams. When I was coughing blood, for instance, remember that day when I was coughing up blood? He said, and having fits of dizziness, and the one at Seta, a place, a geographic place, that when I became interested in philosophy, I didn't fall into the hands of charlatans and didn't get bogged down in writing treatises or becoming absorbed by logic chopping or preoccupied with physics. All things for which we need the help of fortune and the gods. So that's how he closed out his debts and his lessons. And he very quickly goes into the next section here. On the river Gran, among the Quadi, is book 2 of the Meditations. And there's some interesting things in this. These are lengthier than some of the things that he attributed as debts and what's the word I'm looking for? His debts and his lessons that he learned from other people, that he was thankful for. That was that first section. Now, he's getting to some other things. This isn't labeled by content topic-wise, just saying this is where I was when I was writing this. On the river Gran and among the Quadi. So he writes this in the first one. Let's see what application we can take from this. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book 2. He starts by saying in the first paragraph, they're numbered. Paragraph 1. When you wake up in the morning, and I use this for the graphic for tonight's show. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. What did I tell you about those people, huh? That's what we wake up to every day. People that are going to be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. That doesn't mean we don't have happy people and good people and people that are wanting to work with us and cooperate and be lovely and lovers and friends and so on. But he says, when you get up in the morning, he says, remind yourself, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling. They're going to be ungrateful. They're going to be arrogant. They're going to be dishonest. They're going to be jealous. They're going to be surly. And he says, they're like this because they can't tell good from evil. Or you might even use the word evil. And so people are like this, Marcus Aurelius says. Meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, surly, because they can't tell good from evil. Now, in some of the experiences I've had over the last few years, but especially in the last week, with a good friend of mine who I've told you about, who was found innocent, not even found innocent, he was just found not guilty. He maintained his innocence through the whole thing and conquered over this thing. I've encountered more meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly people in connection with that. And so you got to tell yourself, why do they have this? Why are they that way? Because they can't tell good from evil. They have no common sense. Do you have to deal with people who have no common sense? Yeah, Iowa X, he claimed to have an obedient wife. Yeah, there's going to be no quiz. So, obedient, you're going to have to look for what that means. Of course, just remember, the obedient wife thing, it's a different culture. So, the wives were just as independent and equal as the men were in Roman society. So, obedience had a different connotation than it has today, believe it or not. For all you feminists out there, don't go ape shit on us. So, I didn't say this, Marcus Aurelius did. I think that was in parentheses. And modern day feminists, don't go ape shit. So, he said, but I have seen the beauty of good, and I've seen the ugliness of evil. And I've recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. Not of the same blood or birth, but of the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. And so none of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are the obstructions. So why are people meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, surly? Why are they evil? They don't know good from evil, he's saying. And don't be angry with them, because they're people just like you are. And as Marcus Aurelius said, now, Marcus Aurelius, is he a prophet of the gods or a prophet of God? No. But he had an opinion. He's writing opinion out of his philosophy. And his opinion was we're all divine. We're all made of the same stuff. Even though we may have come over on different ships, but we're in the same boat now, he says. We were born to work together. He speaks of his brother that way, who was co-regent with him until his death, untimely death. Uncle Dave says she did exactly what she wanted to him, think he wanted her to do. Yes, dear. She did exactly what she wanted him to think he wanted her to do. Yes, dear. Yeah, there it is. Yes, dear. Oh, yes, dears. I would like to know the word in the original text for obedient. It's, I think now he was writing in Greek. I'm wondering if it's Koine Greek. It would be the same word you'd find in Koine Greek when the New Testament talks about wives being obedient. I don't think he was hailing to the New Testament, but I do think he was using the same language. Let's see. Let's just do this for the hell of it. Let's look up Koine Greek for obedient. Strong's Greek. The word is hupakeo, hupakoe, obedience in the Bible. Let's see what that means. Let's see what that says. Hupakoe. And obedience, literally submission to what is heard. Obedience is the response to someone speaking. This refers both to an earthly voice and the Lord's voice in a biblical sense. So if you look at it in the Greek, there's many different places you find it in biblical text. Most of the New Testament, because the New Testament was written in Koine Greek. Romans 1:5, Romans 5:19, 6:16, 15:18, 16:19. It goes into Corinthians in the New Testament, Philemon, Hebrews, 1 Peter. These are all in there. You can look up Strong's Greek Concordance or Exhaustive Concordance and try to find the word obedient. You don't have to try. You can find it. You just look it up. And it looks, it's got the pi in there and the u and it's pronounced phonetically. It's hupakoe, hupakoe is Koine Greek for obedience, hupakoe, and it just means literally submission to what's heard. Obedience is the response to someone speaking. Earthly voices and spiritual voices. So I think, Matt Finn, that's probably a pretty good bet that is what Marcus Aurelius was talking about. Not necessarily obedience like the obedience of a slave. Remember, they were a slave society. They were also aristocrats in a slave society. I rather doubt that he would have equated that with the same kind of obedience. Submissive obedience is a totally different thing in the Koine Greek. So more listening to his word and decisions. Yeah, exactly. In other words, he was the emperor. And if he said to her, this is the way we have to act, this is what we have to do, these are the things the way we have to be, she listened to him. She was obedient to his word, he said. So there it is. Bing, bang, boom. That was the beauty, by the way, of Koine Greek. When you look at the New Testament and you realize 99.9999% of it is written in Koine Greek, we used to look at it spiritually in the seminary and say, why did God allow the world to be Hellenized or Greekized under Alexander the Great a few hundred years earlier? Because it spread Greek as the language of commerce all throughout the known world at that time. Didn't matter what country you were from. If you were literate and you were a writer, philosopher, spiritual, whatever, you wrote in the Koine Greek because it was the language of commerce of the day. So very good stuff. And so let's move on a little bit here in this. That was the first one. So he says, basically, to feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are the obstructions in life. So now he goes into his second point. Whatever this is that I am, it's flesh, and a little spirit and a little intelligence. Throw away your books. Stop letting yourself be distracted. Stop letting yourself be distracted. That is not allowed. Instead, as if you were dying right now, despise your flesh. Doesn't this sound very Pauline, very New Testament? Didn't Paul say, die to your flesh, despise the flesh, the body that you're in, stop letting yourself be distracted? The Apostle Paul says, don't let these things distract you from your mission. Marcus Aurelius is saying some of the same things right now, in the middle of the 2nd century after the time of Christ. The golden age of the beginnings of Christianity. And so he's saying, what is it that I am? I'm flesh. I'm flesh and blood. I'm a little spirit, and I'm a little bit intelligence too. So throw away your books. Stop letting yourself be distracted. That's not allowed. Instead, as if you were dying right now, despise your flesh. A mess of blood and pieces of bone, a woven tangle of nerves, veins, arteries. Consider what the spirit is. The spirit is air, and never the same air, but vomited out and gulped in again every instant. Finally, the intelligence. Think of it this way. You're an old man. Stop allowing yourself, he says here, stop allowing your mind to be a slave, to be jerked about by selfish impulses, to kick against fate and the present, and to mistrust of the future. See, that's very interesting. He writes almost in a Pauline New Testament, Pauline Christianity sort of way about the body, about the way we approach things. Body decays. I've got my intellect. I've got my spirit, he says. He says, act as if you're dying right now in the flesh, which is a mess of blood and pieces of bones and woven tangles of nerves and veins and arteries, and consider what the spirit is, air. Just like the air, and never the same air, but vomited out and gulped in again every instant. That's what you are, your spirit. Constantly breathing it in and exhaling it, breathing it back in and exhaling it. Stop allowing your mind to be a slave, to be jerked around by selfish impulses. What's he mean by that? Don't be enslaved to things. Do you know, when I was in ministry, we used to talk about this a lot. What are the things that keep you up at night? Those are the things that have enslaved you. Those are we went so far in my ministry days to say, those are the things that are your idols. The things that keep you from your sleep, the things that distract you, the things that make you lose focus on who you are to be and what you ought to be. In a Christian sense, it was not living the things of being a Christ-like person. You would let yourself be distracted by the stuff of life. And in a spiritual or a philosophical sense, you could say the same thing. It's the stuff that distracts you from living a better life, from being a good person. As trite as that sounds. Don't let yourself be enslaved by selfish impulses. Kick against fate and the present and mistrust the future. Those are the things that enslavement brings. Women, then. He must be talking about women, says Iowa Axe. Very funny. I don't think so. I think he's talking to everybody. So that's the second one. It's the third one he's got here. Look at how we're pouring through this tonight. There's so much more. You could take just one of those paragraphs I just read you out of the two. You could spend 2 weeks on each one talking about all the ramifications of what he's talking about. But we're hitting on this kind of light, going through the meditations to see what he has to say. Number 3, he says, what is divine is full of providence. What's Providence? Not a place in Rhode Island, but what is Providence? Do you all know what Providence means? When we say it's providential, the providential acts of God. What does Providence mean? Providence, it's the capital city of the U.S. state of Rhode Island. No, that's not the one we're looking for. Here, let's look for the Merriam-Webster definition. Providence, often capitalized, divine guidance or care. God conceived as the power sustaining and guiding human destiny, the providence of God. Or in Marcus Aurelius's case, the providence of the gods. The quality or state of being provident. If we looked for a of an example in a sentence. Practicing its customary providence, the snowbound family was able to make the meager stores last until help arrived. Another one, if I had the providence to lay in supplies before the storm hit. So anyway, you get the idea of what providence and God's good providence. Here's what God had to say. Here's what God did. It's the providence of God. So Marcus Aurelius says, what is divine? And remember, he already said, we're all divine. He says, what's this flesh? It's the divinity that I have. And he says, what's divine is full of providence. Even chance is not divorced from nature, from the interweaving and the enfolding of things governed by providence. He says chance is even providential. Everything proceeds from it, providence. And then there is necessity and the needs of the whole world of which you are a part. Whatever the nature of the whole does and whatever serves to maintain it is good for every part of nature. The world is maintained by change, he says, in the elements and in the things they compose. That should be enough for you. Treat it as an axiom. Discard your thirst for books so that you don't die in bitterness, but in cheerfulness and truth, grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. Because everything is providence. Everything is divine, and the divine is provident, he says. I like where he says, discard your books. I got 1 million books around me. I love books. Do I live my life by books? No. There are those, I think this is who he is talking to, people who live their life by books. Even Solomon said in the Proverbs in the Old Testament, he said, of the making of many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness to the flesh. We used to quote that in Bible school. Tell our teachers, really, we got to read those chapters by tomorrow? Did you know of the making of many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness to the flesh? It never got us off. So, foresight, says Barbie D. Yeah. There you go. So, what is the divine? It's full of providence. Everything, Marcus Aurelius says. Now, I can't hang on Marcus Aurelius's words the way I might hang on the words of a biblical prophet or a biblical writer. It's different. Marcus Aurelius is not writing a book of faith. Marcus Aurelius is writing to himself about the things he needs to keep reminding himself of. And so he ends us with, discard your thirst for books so that you won't die in bitterness. He's speaking of, I could have led a life and lived a life of being constantly in school, constantly learning, constantly reading, constantly philosophizing, and so on. He says, get rid of your need for that. He says, if you don't, you'll die in bitterness. But in cheerfulness and truth is where you want to be once you've discarded all those books. Grateful to the gods from the bottom of your heart. So did he mean that? Was Marcus Aurelius a man who believed that he should be grateful to God and be cheerful and truthful because of that? Well, I think what we saw in the first part of his book here, Debts and Lessons, all these people. When he got to the gods, the things he was indebted to the gods for. I think he had a belief like many people do who aren't in a particularly staunch mindset about religion, particular denomination. He said what most people will say is that I believe there's a God. I think he believed there were gods. He believed there was a divine, whatever shape that took. He didn't know for sure. He called it gods, plural. So even the Old Testament speaks of gods in a different connotation, of course. Iowa X says, when De Niro got out of prison in Cape Fear, the character is playing, and the guards asked him if he's taking all his books, he says, no, he read them all. There you go. Have I read all my books? No. There's a lot of books that I get because I want to read them later, or they're topics I want to read. There's books I have cracked open and found something pertinent that I needed from it. I reference, and it goes back on the shelf. There are some books I've read over and over again. So yeah, there you go. So let's go on to number 4. He says, and this is in his section, On the River Gran, Among the Quadi. He goes on and says, remember how long you've been putting this off? How many extensions the gods gave you and you didn't use them? At some point, you have to recognize what the world is. At some point, you have to recognize what world it is that you belong to. What power rules it? And from what source you spring. And there's a limit to the time assigned to you. And if you don't use it to free yourself, it will be gone and will never return for you. Isn't that profound? So many different pictures and things rush into my mind on this. I'm going to read that one again. That was the whole one. That was the whole paragraph. He says, remember how long you've been putting this off? How many extensions the gods gave you? It reminds me of the very bad joke, but that joke of the man who the floodwaters were raging. You've all heard a version of this already. And he crawls out onto the roof of his house because his house is engulfed in the deluge. And pretty soon a rowboat comes by. And the man prays, by the way. He prays, God, deliver me from this. Save me. So a boat comes by, a rowboat, and he says, hey, get in. I've come to save you. The guy goes, no, I have prayed to God. God will save me. And it's like, you sure? Yep. Okay. Suit yourself. He rows off to the next place. The man prays again, God, I still expect you to save me from this flood. I want to see your salvation. And so next along comes a much bigger boat and floating on the floodwaters. And the guy says, hop aboard, come on in. We're here to save you. And he says, no, I've prayed to God. God's going to save me. And so the boat takes off after a little conversing. Finally, a helicopter comes, starts to lower him a ladder and says, climb on. We'll get you out of here. No, God's going to save me. Finally, the helicopter says, can't waste my time here. Goes and moves on. So eventually the floodwaters keep rising. The man's house is engulfed. The man is washed off in the floodwaters and dies. Well, then he goes on. He wakes up in the afterlife and he meets God. And he says, where were you, God? You were supposed to save my life. I prayed to you 3 times to deliver me, and you didn't. And God said, that's funny. He says, I remember I sent you a rowboat, I sent you a big boat, and I sent you a helicopter. So, as dumb as that joke is, this is kind of what Marcus Aurelius is saying. What's the divine, or he says, remember how long you've been putting this off, how many extensions the gods have given you? Sometimes you have to look for what he mentioned in the previous paragraph, the providence of God in the things that you need for this life. It doesn't always have to be disastrous. It can be many other things. You didn't use what was sent your way, in other words, what Marcus says. At some point, you have to recognize what world it is that you want to belong to, and what power rules it, and from what source you spring. I have that problem. Many of us do. What world is it to which you belong? What power rules it? What power do you hail to? Myself? I might be divine, but I'm not the divine. I think this is what he's getting at. From what source do you spring? He asks. There's a limit to the time assigned you. And if you don't use it to free yourself, it will be gone and it will never return. Do you remember? Let me type this in. Do you remember that quote from Gandalf? He says, all we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given us. Remember that? And it's longer in the book. So I'm looking for the exact quote on time. Let's see. Gandalf quotes time given to us. I want to find it from the book. I know that Frodo said, I wish it need not have happened in my time. So do I, said Gandalf. So do I, said Gandalf. And so do all who lived to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Amazing quote from that book. So that's what Marcus Aurelius is saying here. There's a limit to the time that's assigned you. And if you don't use it to free yourself, it's going to be gone. And it'll never return. All we have to do is decide what to do with the time given us. What do you do with the time given you? Do we think it will never end? I know when I was a kid, the end of our time, of my time, was a very long ways away. Even though I recognized in my head and I knew that it would come one day. Now, at the age I am now, there are days I'm obviously convinced that my days ahead are much shorter than my days behind. And so I'm aware of my mortality. I'm aware at the end of my time. Do you make good use of your time? Time, that most precious of commodities. The irreplaceable moments of time I've talked about on this show before. The irreplaceable moments of time. Morgan Snow is wondering how much time I have left. Yeah, there it is. Sean Strike says, so do all. He's got the quote, so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. So said Gandalf. So said J.R.R. Tolkien through his character Gandalf. I see Matt Finn in the chat room says, sorry to hear the Empire struck you back today, Brother Sean, but you'll have your return. I don't know what happened. I'll have to look at that. We'll look at it in the captain's cabin. Sean, I hope you're doing well. So all we have to do is decide what to do with the time we have that's been given us. And as Marcus Aurelius opened this particular paragraph, he said, remember how long you've been putting it off. How many extensions the gods have given you. I think this is all very profound stuff. And remember, if he is writing to himself, he's reminding himself. These are his notes. These are his journals to himself. So he's remembering, or he's thinking about all the things. I've got time that's given to me. And I have to make good use of my time. As the Bible said, redeem the time, for the days are evil. Well, it's redeeming the time in a biblical sense. Was, what do you do when you redeem something? You turn something in and get something back for it. You had to redeem the time. I have to turn in my time and what I get back. Redeem that time, for the days around us are evil. And they thought that 2,000 years ago. What do you think about today? The days aren't evil nowadays. I don't know when they were. Marcus Aurelius goes on in the 5th paragraph, and he says, and remember, these aren't all connected. These are all just his notes, the way they were written down. He said, concentrate every minute like a Roman. Be a Roman. We're Klingons. Remember that from the Star Trek? I even put it in The Sword and the Clay. Live like a Roman. Be a Roman. And so concentrate every minute like a Roman, Marcus says, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice. Now, of course, we know this can apply to women. You might as well take out the word man and say person. Just like the Bible does the same thing. It talks to men. Be a man of faith. Be a man of this, a man of this. It's general. It's the way they used to speak. Now, he might be talking specifically to men, but remember, he's talking to himself here. And if you think that does not extrapolate and apply to men and women, you'd be wrong. Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you, he says to himself, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice. Let justice be the overriding factor that governs your seriousness and your tenderness and your willingness. And on freeing yourself from all other distractions, the things that so easily take us down. Even the Apostle Paul said, it's been in my head, a tip of it, and I don't know where to find it, or I looked it up, where it says, I keep focused, and he said in the Old English that I keep under my body. Now, what does that mean? Well, I keep it under. I push it under. I push under the body, the desires, the wills of the body and the flesh, in order to focus on God, to focus on my task, he's saying. Free yourself from the distractions, and as Paul said, and the sins which so easily beset us. Let me find that verse. For those of you who are Christian and want to hear this, or want to hear with that, sins that so easily set us. Let me find that verse. Hebrews 12:1. Let's see if this is the one I'm thinking of. Therefore, seeing we also are compassed about by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that's set before us. Now that's in the King James. Let's see what the Amplified Bible says, amplifying the language. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses who by faith have testified to the truth of God's absolute faithfulness, stripping off every unnecessary weight and the sin which so easily and cleverly entangles us, let us run with endurance and active persistence the race that is set before us. The Message, which is one of my favorite idiom translations, and this is the last version of this I'll do. Paul writes in the book of Hebrews, he says, do you see what this means? All these pioneers who blazed the way, all these veterans cheering us on, it means we'd better get on with it, strip down, start running, and never quit. No extra spiritual fat, no parasitic sins. Keep your eyes on Jesus, whom both began and finished this race that we are in. Study how he did it, because he never lost sight of where he was headed. That exhilarating finish in and with God. He could put up with anything along the way, the cross, shame, whatever, and now he's there in the place of honor right alongside God. And when you find yourselves flagging in your own faith, go over that story again, item by item, that long litany of hostility he plowed through. That will show adrenaline or shoot adrenaline into your souls. How is that for an expanded version of that particular verse? So Marcus Aurelius pretty much said the same thing. He says, Concentrate every minute. Like a Roman, like a man, and doing what's in front of you. Precise and genuine seriousness. Tenderly, willingly, with justice. And on freeing yourself from all other distractions. Yes, you can. If you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life. And stop being aimless. Stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you. Stop being hypocritical, self-centered, irritable. You see how few things you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life? If you can manage this, that's all even the gods can ask of you. Boy, I love this. Yes, you can, he says. Obama wasn't the first one to say that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life. Think of that for a second. What if you knew you were going to die in a day? What would your day look like? What would you be doing with it? He says, live every day as your last day is basically what he's saying. How often have we heard that? The whole dance like nobody's looking or watching and love like nobody, whatever. You know, you've heard all of those. Live like this is your last day. Genuine, precise, serious, tenderly, willingly, with justice. So, do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life. He says, stop being aimless. Do you know people who have absolutely no ambition to do anything whatsoever? One of my greatest fears in life when I was younger was going through life and not having my goal, not making my goal, not having a goal to attain, being aimless. Stop letting your emotions override what your mind is telling you to do. It's that whole thing. I keep running into it this last week. Facts don't care about your feelings. Set your feelings aside. You sometimes have to. And go with just the facts, man. Stop being aimless. Stop letting your emotions override what your mind tells you. Stop being hypocritical. Stop being self-centered. Stop being irritable. I'm irritable all the time these days, it seems. So many things drive me insane. I have to work on that. Stop being self-centered. Stop being hypocritical, folks. You see how few things you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life? If you can manage this, that's all even the gods ever ask of you. Manage your life well. I got time to squeeze in this last one in the last minute or so we have. Number 6, he says, yes, keep on degrading yourself, soul. Keep on degrading yourself, soul. But soon your chance at dignity will be gone. Everyone gets one life. Yours is almost used up, and instead of treating yourself with respect, you have entrusted your own happiness to the souls of others. We'll hit that again tomorrow night because there's so much more to that. And we got really, literally a minute left of this program. So we're going to have our sisters here yet?
No, one time.
Okay, don't go into a big thing. All right, I'll talk to you in a minute when I'm done. I just wondered if they were here, yes or no. So, folks, we're going to go into the captain's cabin. Stick around when we go off air on the radio. And stick around in the chat room over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And we'll have the captain's cabin. And just keep talking. Uncle Dave will join us. And if all goes well, even my daughters will eventually get here. And they'll be part of it. So all I want to say to you right now is what we say every night. I want you to know I appreciate your being here. And you know what? Live long and prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
All right, folks, welcome to the Captain's Cabin. Thanks for being here for the radio show, and now thanks for being here for this. We got Uncle Dave upstairs. He's going to come in very shortly. And my daughters, their plane didn't land instead of 8:30, it landed at 9:30. So it might have been a time zone differential there. Wow, did the show already shut off on the stream? I guess it did. It does that on its own, I think. I hope it didn't do it early because I'm looking at it. It's already off. The stream's already off. So here we are. It's just us over here in the chat room. Let me get back over to the chat room. There we are. So, hey, everybody. Hi, Lily. Do I know Lily? I just saw Barbie D say hi to Lily. Oh, would that be Leslie Holker's Lily by any chance? I don't know. Is it somebody else? I don't see a Lily in the chat room. So I'm missing something. Anyway, there you go. There's Rowan. Yeah, she's here. Boom. Yeah, they must have flown American Airlines. Delta. I trust Delta before I trust American. So American Airlines. Yeah, there you go, Antonina. Yeah, I hate American Airlines. So.
And Dad also hates my nails.
I do. Did you just come on to show off your nails?
No, they can't even see my nails.
Good. I am not an encouraging father. I don't like fake nails. I think fake nails. First of all, I don't like them. They degrade your real nails. And also, somebody's calling me. Just up on the stupid cats under our feet. There's Bryn. Hold on a second. Let's see. Hey, Bryn.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. We're just calling. We have our rental car. We're just calling for the address.
Oh, the address? Hold on. Let me go mute on my mic. Hold on, folks. Okay, Rowan is taking care of that. I don't like to announce my mailing. I'm not afraid of anything. I just don't want stupid people coming to my house and knocking on the door at 2 a.m. So Rowan's given our address. They just got their rental car. They're driving already. They just need the address again so they can put it in their map book. And not that they haven't been here before. It's just, okay, how do we get it? My children are all directionally malfunctioned. So handicapped, that's the word I'm looking for. So welcome to everybody who's still here. Dave needs a link. Dave, you don't know the link? You know, it's in the description. It's on the Facebook thing every day, but I'll get it to you anyway. It's easier this way. Here is the, I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. I'm going to paste it into the chat room for you, Uncle Dave. There it is. All right. That's the link to get in. If you want to call into the show, that's the link to do it.
They said they're on their way.
Can't see your beautiful face.
That's good because I have pimples.
Where? What is that big, ugly, round, fat, pussy thing? I hardly noticed. I wouldn't have even noticed if you hadn't said it. So, anyway, Scotty Roberts. That was me. Yeah. There's Uncle Dave. Let's add him in. Boom. I'm going to drop the banners. Hold on. Boom. There we are. Hey, Uncle Dave.
There I am.
There you am. He's up in our living room upstairs.
Did you turn off Supernatural?
No, you can
Probably for the
that
noise.
is on the other side of the room.
Okay,
would
good.
Why don't you come up and do that? That would be great.
Why don't you go up and do that? Go turn that off for him.
Sure, I can just do it from down here.
Why don't you just go?
Because I can do it from down here.
You can do it better from up there.
These kids and their technology.
I gotta tell you.
It's not my technology, it's Dad's.
Yeah, that's right. It's on my phone.
Where's your Roku app?
I don't know. Go upstairs and find it.
Oh,
You know, the remote's laying over there on the couch. I can see it from here.
well,
Yeah,
I'm too lazy.
it's upstairs.
Well, here's your Roku app.
Why don't you just go upstairs, like I asked?
Did it turn off?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
There you go. Technology.
I have salmon in the oven.
Ooh, nice. I've got. See, my phone. You know what's nice about this phone? We've got all the Roku boxes. Roku either built into all our TVs, or it's and from this phone, I just take my app. I can get on the app on this phone, and I can it's just the Roku app
I had
right
to
there,
search.
the Roku app. It's right there in the middle. I go on that Roku app. I can control every TV in this house. Phenomenal cosmic power. So, okay, if you're going to do that stuff, you can go.
Ow, you hit me. in
I
the
don't have
face.
you down here for that. Bye.
You hit me with your chair.
She's very 10 today.
See ya.
Look at me.
You can leave that door open now. Thank you. So,
You shouldn't pick on the girls. I'm directionally
Do you-
challenged.
do you
Every
know where
time I
I've
go
grown
over here, I have you
impatient?
send me the address. So
where I grow impatient is what do you call that? It's not precocious because you're a little too old to be precocious. It's I'm so cool now that I can talk to you any way I want to.
word for it. Tartiness.
Is it pertinent? Impertinent.
Tartiness. She's a tart.
Oh, tartiness. Yeah, there's that. So I'm way over that. And I have very little patience for it. So, oh, she's going to bug you now. So,
She's being sassy and shoved her knee into a chair.
yep,
Now she's
yep.
writhing on the floor. So that's
Oh, oops. Gosh, I'm so sorry. So there's static. Is somebody picking up static? Is it coming from upstairs?
I'm not sure.
Is he going to call in? He's upstairs.
elbow?
Static.
Bang this part of your elbow.
Good evening,
against the
everyone.
back of the
Better
chair.
late than never, says Roger Rabbit. Roger, good to have you here. And glad you made it in.
Easy on the
And
phone.
I don't even know what I'm going to say next, to tell you the truth.
I have no clue.
So
You didn't check.
I
with
was,
me.
I just have my head set on, I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to come up with anything because my daughters are going to be here. We're going to be talking. We're going to introduce them and introduce their business. I've talked about them so much. Now they're not here yet. It's going to be at least 40 minutes before they're here, I think, or a half an hour.
Time
it's
will
about-
fly by.
It'll fly by. And so I could come up with a topic really quick. Here. You know what, Dave? Let's do the spark courage. 50 ways to be bold. Let's pull a matchstick, shall we? See all those matches in there? Each one's got a unique phrase on it. Something to make you bold. Let's see what we got. I'm going to dig deep because I've probably been through all of these, one form or another. This says,
You know, it occurs to me, having looked through TikTok and Instagram, that the future of stripping is sound.
yes, it is.
There will be no shortage of strippers.
I don't think there'll be any shortage of strippers. All right. This says practice powerful body language.
Sorry.
Shoulders
exotic
back,
dancers.
chin up, body open. Powerful body language. Okay, that's not much conversation. We could talk about body language if we wanted to. I don't want to.
I'm sorry, I had headphones. What did you say?
See what else we got. Offer to help strangers in small ways. Okay, I don't want to do any of these tonight. I've changed my mind. Matchsticks is a silly place tonight. Oh, I'm wondering what I'm hearing out there. It's the fireworks.
Oh, yeah, there's fireworks going off.
Yeah.
Either that or we're being invaded. I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Could be. That's where Rainey went. She took Flynn, didn't she?
Flynn and Ellery.
Why didn't Rowan go?
She was all set to go, and then there was some sort of tussle as they were getting into the car. And then
Oh, a tussle. Say it isn't so, Uncle Dave. You were up there. I wasn't.
Somebody cried shotgun. Nobody yelled Remington, so I'm assuming they just wanted a chair to sit in. But
yeah, something like that. So, and Tonino says, hey, Gandalf. I think he's talking to you. So, we got Roger Rabbit, Michelle. So far, I'm pretty boring, by the way, tonight. We're pretty boring here.
we are. What should we talk about?
I don't know. I didn't segue into a topic, so I'd have to dredge up a topic out of my head. What are the things I want to talk about? What are the things that we all have to deal with every day? That we all have to look at me going blank. I rarely go blank on topics. I could just pull a topic out of my head. We could talk about Star Trek. That's a nice topic.
What are your
We've done
thoughts
that
about
before.
We're 4 or 5 episodes into Strange New Worlds. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my thoughts on Strange New Worlds. It's first of all, I think it's really, really well done. Folks, if you've been a Star Trek fan and you haven't watched it, well worth your time. And if you go, oh, I don't want to pay $6 a month to watch Paramount Plus or CBS Plus or whatever it is, you know what? Eat the $6. You pay $9 to go see a movie, or is it $10 now? To see a single 2.5 to 3 hour movie, you'll pay $10. You can pay $6 to see. So far, it's been 5 hours of solid entertainment. What? You hand signaling me?
No, I'm talking to Rowan.
I'm getting weird static. It's like going chicka 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 chicka. I'm hearing beeping. Did that come from you?
That came from me. That's something.
Oh, okay.
Fish.
It sounded like it was coming from my room. So, yeah, so I find Star Trek Strange New Worlds to be really well done. Are people talking about that or something else? OnlyFans. Oh, they're talking about strippers. So. The strippers have very good body language, says Iowa X. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that they've mastered body language. OnlyFans strippers, says Antonino. Let's see. Antonino. I know it's Antonino. So, Antonino. Let's see. What are you doing up there, Rowan?
I can't hear you, Dad.
Sorry.
I can't hear anything Dad is saying.
I'm getting a lot of static. Hold on. I'm going to mute Dave's mic for a second. See, something's coming through Dave's computer. I'm getting a lot of static. I'm getting a lot of chiggering static from your end.
Okay. I'm back.
There you go. No, I'm still getting it.
It's probably my headset.
I'm getting feedback too. I hear myself. There you go. That's better. But I'm not hearing you. Hold on.
All right, my mic was muted.
There we go. You had your mic muted. There, that's much better.
All right. Then we'll go with that. You'll have to be quiet.
Says Mr. Potter got better looking losing the beard. What? He still has the beard. He still has it, Sean.
Haven't lost it yet, but it's going to go away soon.
I think they're hard to maintain.
Well, I grew
Make
it
it
out
look
for a
good.
specific portrait. That portrait's getting close to being done, and then I will cut it off.
Right on. Right on. Sounds good to me.
Probably go back to a Van Dyke.
A Van Dyke. So, yeah, that was weird science, Static Antonino. I can't say it the way it's supposed to be said. Antonino. I always want to say Antoninus. We went through this last night. It's Antonino. So, and Michelle Cannon Free, welcome. I don't think I said hello earlier. Glad to have you in here tonight. So, I'm hearing crazy static, says Matthew Sainsbury.
I don't know what that's coming from.
I think it's gone now. I think that was earlier.
Oh.
Remember, this is all offset. And not everybody even starts the program at the same time. Sometimes people are 8 minutes behind because they started the program late. And so it's playing late. So it might have been my child, Sean.
Jumping.
Yeah, I heard that from down here.
Yeah, she's dancing and doing gymnastics, you know.
So who wants to call in and talk to us? So mostly because I'm a little bereft of topic right now. I can't get my brain into a topic. My brain will usually move immediately into just about anything you'd want to talk about. So Star Trek, I could talk about Star Trek, but we already talked about Strange New Worlds not long ago. There's not much more I can add to that.
Kenobi?
We could. It's good.
Painting?
Kenobi is good. I like it. Talk about the ghost Egyptian that partially showed up in your photograph. Oh, June, I've talked about that an awful lot. I could mention that again. And so it's just that my 10-year-old has become obnoxiously 10 years old.
Yeah, she's 10.
So
What?
What?
and I don't deal with it well.
She's 10.
I don't deal with it well.
You're being 10. It's pretty
Well,
normal.
look, Matthew Sainsbury called in.
I'm not normal.
Let's see what Matthew has to say tonight. Hey, Matthew, how you doing?
Words
Hi,
have
good night,
never been
guys.
spoken.
Good night, David Potter. Good night, Scotty Roberts.
Good night.
Tonight, I was just watching a few documentaries because today going in tomorrow will be the anniversary of Alexander the Great's death. So just looking at information, people question whether he was
It's not even on my
poisoned.
calendar.
Yeah. But he did a lot in history, so they were just having a lot of questions and explanations about his death and whether his death was normal or whether it was murder or anything like that. So
Yeah.
There was a interesting ghost story. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, called Resurrection Mary, in Chicago.
Yeah.
It's very graphic because this lady, she was killed in a car accident back in 1934 or something. A lot of people who drove in Chicago in the area called Archer Road. One of them was a guy who worked as a mortician, and he was driving along and he saw her walking around in a white dress and she was shining, and so he thought at first she was just a normal lady. They went to a place that was in Chicago known as I think it's called Willow's Dance Hall, and they had a good dance and everything. But she said that her hands felt cold like ice. So he being working anymore, he recognized that as a sign of death or so. Well, he offered to take her home, but she said, no, I want to go to Archer Road. And then they were on the way near passing the cemetery, and she asked him to stop the car. And the thing is that he asked her why you want to stop here for, because you told me that you live in Archer Road, not by the cemetery. And she made a comment by saying, where I can go, you can't come. And she actually stepped out the vehicle and actually went by the cemetery's gate and vanished. The next day, he went and go and speak to the mother because he found out where she was living. And the mother said that my daughter couldn't have danced with you or anything like that because she's been dead for 5 years. So it's a very interesting thing. It's a very interesting phenomenon there in Chicago. Yeah, because people still report of it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, people still report of it because they're like bars, what they call like the gates to the Chicago's Resurrection Cemetery. They found like if the bars have been pulled and you can see fingerprints of someone who actually yanked the bars open. Like, jeez, boy, it's a very intense story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's stories like that all over. It's like Dave has his own story about, picking people up. And the story, I think, Dave, that you had a story like that where you picked
I
somebody
didn't
up.
pick anybody up, but I had somebody pull up next to me.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
So it was a 1960s car. The guys in front kind of had their hair. They were older guys in their 50s, but they had their hair done the way they would have in the 50s. And there was a girl in the back seat. She looked like she was about 16. She looked like she was wearing like a prom dress, like you would wear back in that era. And she had a bouffant hairdo, and she'd been crying. Her mascara was running and stuff. And the guys in front were laughing and joking and having a conversation as though they knew nobody was in the back seat. She was sitting in the back seat looking out the side window at me. And we made eye contact, and I'm looking at this girl. She's clearly crying. The people in the front seat are clearly paying no attention to her at all. Like they don't know she's there. And then the lights changed and off it went. And I'm like, WTF, what was that?
Yeah.
Was that a residual memory from something that happened in that car? Or is that a ghost that's living in that car that's stuck there?
Yeah. These are things that are the unexplained that you can put in that category, boy. It must
Now, June had asked if I would talk a little bit about that ghost figure I picked up, or what at least I think is, and in Egypt. And I had that experience there at Saqqara, and this was at the stepped pyramid of Dozier, or Djoser, if you want to say it right, Djoser. And the Hebsed Court, which is right next to the pyramid. So if I was sitting on a stone at the end of, hey, we got Antone calling it Antonino. I'm going to add him to the stream. Antone, how you doing, brother?
Hey, good night, Antone. Good night.
And so I'm sitting in the Hebsed Court on a stone, and just right over my shoulder is the stepped pyramid. And so I had this vision, which I've described before. It takes too long to go to the whole story, and where everything transformed. And then I came back in, and I thought, wow, that was extraordinary. What the fuck was that? And so I went up and I was taking pictures all around. The place was deserted that afternoon, except for the guardians. They call them the guardians. They work for the Ministry of Antiquities. They're hired just out of the local villages to go guardian watch over these sites of antiquity. And basically they got jobs for life. It's a cushy life, and in a third world sort of way. And so they were there, but they're all dressed in the galabeas. They're usually about this color or white or gray. They hang all the way to the ground, the long robes with the long sleeves on them. Lightweight. And so I got this figure caught in the picture. I was taking pictures. I didn't see it. And it wasn't for 7 years later, when I was looking at this picture, that I was able to see this figure in the picture. And June was asking about this. And so I thought, what is this? And so here, I'll show you something. I will share my screen. Boom. And share. So you're all going to see it like that. With us stacked up to the left, we should be. And if I go over here into Photoshop, oh, there's our graphic for tonight. How about that? So if I open, I'm going to open and go to, let me see where I've got this here. And transferred files. And we're going to go into, I think it's right in here, Saqqara. There we go. All right. Now you'll see the pictures come up to the left here. I'll open up some of these so I can show you. But the first picture where I noticed this was this picture right here. Let me open that up for you. Let's open that, and we're going to fill the screen with that view. Fill screen.
Yeah, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can you all see? Can you see my mouse moving on there? Like right in the center sky.
Yeah.
Here, let's use this one. There you go. Now, you see this stone sitting right here. This is where I was sitting when I had this little vision. And by the way, right up over here is the step pyramid. It just raises and goes up off to the left. So I'm sitting
Yeah.
right here, and I'm having a cigarette when I had this vision. And when I talked about this vision of seeing the priests walking toward me, it was this whole courtyard here where I saw this line of priests coming up here, and then they turned over here. And there was nothing in the middle. There was no rubble. And they just turned over to these, you see these kind of cove-top temples. They ran all along this side. So that's what I saw. And after I was done here, I got up and I was taking pictures, and John was wandering around looking at things. And I walked up to here and came into one of these little porches. Like if you look here in the very center of the picture, I'm in one of these little porches like this, only over on this side. And I took this picture back where I was sitting, and I stepped out and I took a picture down the lane. Then I took another picture pointing the other way back over my shoulder. So this was the picture. But it wasn't until 7 years later I noticed, if you follow my mouse here, that I noticed this guy right here. He wasn't there before. There was nobody there except John and I. John was wearing a kind of olive drab colored tweed sport suit coat and a hat. Well, let me blow this up. Now, this is a little lower res, this picture, but if I start blowing this up, yeah, see, it gets a little too choppy already. So that one's not going to work. So let me open up the next picture. As I blew this thing up, okay, first of all, I'm going to show you this picture, because this is what I was, this is where I was standing. I made this little white guy with the hat to show this is where I was standing when I took that picture, looking back this way. And I'm showing you here in this shaded area approximately what I took in the picture. And Antone, don't worry, we'll get to you here in a second. Let me get through the story. If you want to add anything, you can, by the way, brother, while I'm doing this. So I'm standing here, and these are those cove-top temples that are, there's several of them rebuilt here. And if you look here, as I took this picture from this vantage point, looking back to where I was sitting on the stone here, and I looked over here, and this line of stonework here goes all the way down here. This dark area would be the shaded area that you don't see from this vantage point. And you could see the arm and the shoulder of this figure sticking out. Okay, there's that one. Now let's go into one of the other pictures here. Let's use this one. Here's a slightly closer image right here. Let me bring this up to size. Now you see the stone over here where I was sitting. And over here, there's this image here of this figure that's emerging from behind the stonework. Now, what's interesting about this figure is ground level from where you're seeing him here would be down about right here. So here's ground level. This guy is either really tall with really long legs or whatever. So there he is. Now I'll show you the third image here. And those of you who haven't seen this before, here's the close-up of this. When I zoom in on this figure, this is what I'm getting. Is this right here. And it looks like somebody bare-shouldered.
Yeah.
Perhaps bare-chested. Sleeveless. You see the hand.
You see the hands
thumb,
and fingers.
And the hip kind of fades off. So that's the figure that I captured. And sorry, these are the low-res pictures. I don't have the high-res ones right here. But that gives you an idea of what I was looking at, of what I saw in this photograph. So let me stop sharing my screen. Now that figure, couldn't explain it by anybody who was there on the site. It looks like it was a darker-skinned person who may have been bare-chested, at least bare-shouldered, bare-armed. There was nobody there like that. There was only John and I here, and then the guardians of the site who wore the big long-sleeved, white, cream-colored galabeas. So I don't know what Rowan's up to up there, but she's with Uncle Dave up there making some kind of thing. And so I have had other people look at this. I actually had a shaman friend of mine took a look at it, and I said, "What do you think of this?" And David Weatherly, by the way, some of you may have read some of his books, and he was thinking, he got the distinct feeling that it may have been jinn or jinn related, which was very interesting. So there you go. What are your thoughts? Antone, haven't even hardly said hi to you yet over there. What do you think of this stuff?
That's freaky. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hear you fine.
That's freaky, but I'm thinking the ancient Egyptians, weren't they like dark skinned?
Yeah.
I'm definitely I'm 100% sure they weren't Arabs. They came in much later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Arabs came and conquered Egypt sometime around 640, 650, around that time. Yeah.
640. So yeah, yeah, you've got your. I don't know that they were, for a classification to say the word Negroid. I don't think they were black skinned as we would think of that, but I think they were a lot darker skinned.
Yeah,
you
they
can
were.
even see in sculptures, you can see some of the features that were painted on them that were very, you would say, African.
Oh yeah.
In some of the tomb paintings, they would use brown to depict Egyptians. Or was it reddish brown to depict the Egyptians? They would use yellow to depict Middle Easterners, which would be your Arabs and other races. So, which leads me to that whole thing about the statue of Joseph.
I know about that.
Have you heard of that from what was Avaris?
Hyksos capital.
Yep, the Hyksos capital. A statue of a Middle Easterner that was in power. And he was yellow-skinned and red-haired and so on.
There's a theory that the Hyksos came into Egypt sometime around 1700, 1675 BC, or between that period of time. Yeah, they brought chariots to Egypt too as well, because the Egyptians actually mastered it.
You can date the Hyksos by who drove them out. He was Ahmose the First, Ahmose, who drove them out, and we know the dates of Ahmose. He drove the Hyksos out. The Hyksos ruled for 108 years in northern Egypt. So they came in 108 years before the time of Ahmose the First, who drove them out. So, and his son was Tutmosis the First, or was it his grandson Tutmosis the First? Tutmosis the First would have been the pharaoh under whose reign Moses would have been born if you use the biblical chronology system.
Chronology there,
and then you have, so on.
Some people like to date it. Some people like to date it during the time of Ramses II.
Bless you.
Yeah. Some people like to date it. Some people like to date the Exodus around Ramses II a lot, but the Bible seems to reveal that sometime around the time of King Solomon's construction of the temple was 400 years. After the Exodus. Yeah. So they come up around 1446 BC, which
you must have been listening to my stuff.
Yeah. I used to watch a lot of your programs, Joseph, and so I watched and listened to some of it. Find it very informative, especially with the Exodus narrative. Yeah, because you seem to think that Hatshepsut may be connected with Moses in a strong way too. I heard you talk about that. Yeah.
So I think that she was the woman who found him in the Nile when she was young. And so, anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But there you go, June Shasta. That's the story of that guy. There's no way to prove it. Maybe it was just a big black man without a shirt in the hot sun of Egypt. So, what's that? You're so good looking, Seinfeld, after sneeze.
Scotty, I got a question.
Yes, sir, Anton. What's your question or a comment?
Have you ever had any interest in checking out the Temple of Isis, which I think is further south, like on what they call it, the island of Philae or something?
Yes, I've been there, as a matter of fact. I've been there.
Close, right?
It's in Komombo. It's not Elephantine Island. It might be Elephantine. It's the Temple of Isis there, and we were down there. I've actually got some really good pictures of that place. It's a gorgeous temple. And that was a temple that was how long ago? I
think
thought I heard
around,
that was an active temple, an active center of worship
yeah.
all the way up through like the 1500s or the 1600s
It's a
AD.
while.
I
Yeah.
So,
I think by one of the Ptolemies, no, built
yeah,
that because from what I read is that they built a dam and they moved it to another
yes,
location, but part of the original temple is submerged underwater, and you
yes.
have to go around
And
on
you
a
can
boat.
still see it. I've got pictures of that where you see parts of the
The gate,
workings of the temple and things from the temple that are still emerged out of the river
right?
Oh,
because of the flooding of Lake Nasser, which was in 1967. That's when they moved Abu Simbel up, and the big four-seated
Statue of Ramses.
giant statues of Ramses.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, yeah. And I was going to see if I had a picture in here of let's put in Komombo, the great name, by the way.
I don't know. For some reason, I always felt like a connection to that place, but I've never been there.
Yeah.
It could be, I don't know if it's a past life thing or what, but I don't know.
Here, I'll show you. I've got one picture in here in my files right here handy. I'll share this with you guys. Share my screen again, boom, and go over to Photoshop. I've got this one right here. There's John Ward and I at the Temple of Isis at Komombo. So there it is.
This is a different one.
This is the Temple of Isis at Komombo. Which one are you thinking?
I was thinking about the one on the. It's called an island of Philae or something down the
Yeah,
Nile.
this is
Philae.
Philae, in
Okay.
Komombo.
Oh,
So this is that temple. Let's see if I've got another shot of this. I don't know if I do.
is this like the original Isis temple, like the first? Or
Here, you know where I can find this? Let me see if you guys have patience for me and can go through this with me. If I go over to my Facebook and I go to my photos and I go to my albums and let me get rid of that and that. Let's see. So if I start going through all my albums here from that trip, I can find where we were on. Here's an Aswan, which was the same time we were there. Sandstorm, Suez Canal, Hotep, Tombs of the Nobles, Luxor, Tombs of the Nobles, Menedat Habu, Hatshepsut's Temple, Carter, Giza, hang on, Elephantine Island.
Elephantine, yeah.
It might be in here. Let's see. All right, folks, I'm going to regale you with a little slideshow, if you don't mind. And these are the slides when Margaret and I went out to the Black Hills. No, here we go. So this is just going down the Nile on our boat. There's my daughters, by the way, Abby and Bryn, sitting there.
Yeah.
Just to say, these are the people who came along on the trip with us. And some just stone carvings along the riverside. You can see all the stone art there. I'm going to look specifically for the temples here. And we were the tour guide, so we weren't on some weird tourist trip. We did our own thing here.
Good cartouche there.
And let's see. There's John Ward in the background.
he looks like a guy from out of Indiana Jones,
Yes, he does.
like with the hat and all that. Yeah.
Let's see. Here you're starting to see, this is Elephantine. That's just a shrine off the river there. That's Julie. She's a Brit as well. So this is just what we're going through down the very quiet part of the Nile River.
Yeah. Cataracts.
There's Julie again. And she was one of our participants. It's just somebody's house along the Nile.
Wow.
And it's just gorgeous down here. So peaceful.
Yeah.
There's Abby, my daughter, on a camel, and Bryn,
Very nice.
and some of the people that came along on the trip with us. There's John mounting up.
I'm surprised Obi-Wan Kenobi's not on a camel.
Only one what?
I'm surprised Obi-Wan Kenobi's not on a camel.
Oh, yeah.
which
This is
part-
the monastery of San Simeon. Remember I told you guys, this guy right in the middle here, he's in the shadows, but this is just to demonstrate. We had a bunch of guys he was the inspector general, if I'm not mistaken, from the Ministry of Antiquities of Komombo. And he was kind of John and Maria's boss at their archaeological site. He came along and as a tour guide with us. And we had 6 different archaeologists from the Ministry of Antiquities that were friends of John's and Maria's that would come along with us certain cities and temples we went to, and they would give little lectures for us and ride along on the boat. And so we were
Tour
very
guide.
privileged that way.
Yeah, very good tour guides.
Now, I'm just going through rather quickly. This is the Christian monastery, by the way.
Yeah,
of San Simeon.
Byzantine art. Yeah.
And I'm trying to find,
Wow.
yeah, this is just an amazing place.
Layers of
That's when we
history.
were out in the desert.
Geez, it must have been like really hot and dry there, no?
It is very hot and dry.
I don't know how Alexander managed to march to the Oracle of Siwa in that heat when he got there.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going through this. I'm trying to find the temple. Not the right folder. Let's go back here. Hold on. We got to go back here. One more step. Okay. Thank you. All right. It's not cooperating. Hold on. It's going someplace completely different. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. It wants to take me through. Doesn't want to just shut that off. So hold on. I got to go all the way back here. I got to go all the way back to photos. I got to go all the way back to albums. Here we go. Now let's see. We kind of left off down in here somewhere. This is all in. Here's Abu Simbel, which is down there. The Nubians, the Egyptians at Abu Simbel. This is the same time we're down there looking for this temple. Temple of Philae. Or Philae. Here we go. All right. I'm just going to start it here. That's my daughter, Abby.
Very nice.
That is one of our Egyptian guys that helped pull a lot of strings for us. This is our boat. We had the boat for 10 days. The big Dahabea, John. And that guy right in the middle behind the mast in the gray sweater, that is El Tayyib. You see him comment on my Facebook a lot. He was our main guide that we took everywhere with us.
Oh, okay.
Chris Conway, psychic off of the show Most Haunted, the Brit show Most Haunted. He was with us. There's a kid in a Galabea. What that kid is wearing, that's what all the guardians would wear at these sites. Clothes just like that.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Okay. Heading down the river.
Got a rock sitting over there.
Yes.
And
There's
now
the
goes
temple
right-
on the left.
There it is. Yep.
This is Philae. Or Philae, however you want to say it.
Yep,
There
right,
it is.
That's it. Yep. That's the one.
Then we go up and around the curve here of the river.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
I can
And I
imagine-
think this is where you might see some of the ruins that are coming out of the water as well.
I
See,
can imagine-
this is
I can-
this is the same site.
I
That
can
was
imagine what it
the
looks like
same
at
as.
night.
Go ahead, Anton.
No, I can imagine how it looks like at night because I'm sure.
Oh,
like,
it's all lit up. It looks golden at
That's
night,
nice.
like some of those other pictures I had.
Yeah.
This is where he is giving us one of the guys from the Ministry of Antiquities just talking about the temple to our group. We had a group of about 13 people.
courtyard. Oh wow.
Chris, John. So yeah, this is now out here. You can see when you look, there are some places, I don't know if it's out in here somewhere, there's places where you see substructure that comes up, and I'll show you when we get to them. See, this is right from the temple. This is after it's all flooded, after the Aswan Dam was built.
Great Lake Nasser, yeah.
And again, there's no like spectacular picture here, where we've weaned them all out. This is just all of them. This is the whole nut I took that day of all this stuff going on here.
Egyptian deity. Yeah.
Just look at the structure here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, these columns, man.
Wow.
And all the hieroglyphic inscriptions.
Yes.
I think it's called the Egyptian hieroglyphics, they call it Neteru, I think is what they call it. I think it's what I have the name for them.
And you would see these. Now, if you look right here, down in the under the foot of the main character here, see a little cross carved in, and one here. That's all Coptic Christians did that. It's graffiti, but it's about 2,000-year-old graffiti.
Yeah.
So
that's during the Byzantine period.
Yep.
Wow.
And this guy who's talking from the Ministry of Antiquities, I always called him, in my memory, I call him Salah, like from Indiana Jones, Salah, his friend, his Egyptian friend. That's, of course, not his name. But I would get up in the morning and he'd be out on deck having coffee already. And he'd go, "Scotty, me boyo. Come, sit and have coffee with me." He always reminded me of Salah from Indiana Jones. So, much more of the temple.
Yeah. I think Isis' Egyptian name is Osset, and her son Horus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now here you see, this is just an example. It's been a long time since I talked about this, but for Hatshepsut, she was erased. There was an erasure that took place. And her stepson, Tutmosis III, and then his son, 40 years later, they set about erasing her by chiseling her images out. But this is the way they did it. This is somebody that's Hathor, but somebody went through and meticulously chiseled out the image here. And that's the way they would do it.
Haters.
Because Hatshepsut actually built an obelisk that still stands
here on the
today.
top as well.
Oh yeah.
That could be the Coptics who did that as well, to eradicate the image. And because remember, the reason they did that, eternal life was in the name and the remembrance. And so by chiseling them out, they were chiseling out the name for history.
That's when the Egyptians would put the names in the Ankh as an eternal memorial to the person.
Yes.
The cartouche, that's what they call it. Yeah, cartouche.
He's showing the chiseling out. Now, this is old graffiti as well from the 1800s. So
chiseled, I can see chisel marks.
That's El Tayeb.
Bryn and Abby have just arrived.
I hear that.
Commotion.
I hear the commotion. They're out in the driveway. Let's see. I'm going to move a little faster through some of this. I don't want to bore everybody to tears, but this is the temple we're looking for. I was going to see if I could find some of the pictures that showed the ruins coming out of the river, but
wants to join the show. Hey, it's David.
Yeah.
Who's that, King David?
No. No, it's too anglicized, those words.
Yeah, because I know in 1983 the phone was stolen in Israel with King David's.
That's all it's in that particular album. So there you go. That's all we'll do with that. However, I'm tempted to go one more step here. Hold on. And just see if I can get back to See, it's doing weird things. It won't take me back to my albums by turning it off. It's turning off each individual picture, which is really odd. And so I'm going to go back here and go back to photos and go back to albums. And let's see. I'm going to see if there's anything else that's of great. All of these, I'd say there's 20, 30 albums in here that are all from this particular trip. Serabit El Khadim in the Sinai, Abu Simbel,
and all those places.
the Giza Plateau, when we went and saw the pyramids for the first time. Well, with our group, we did. The Red Sea, Saqqara. Here we go.
Saqqara.
You know, let's just look at this. This is Saqqara. We talked about it. Here's the stepped pyramid of Dozier.
Yeah, Dozier, yeah.
And it looks like something out of a movie set. These are the scaffoldings. They were doing work on it. These scaffoldings are put together by local villagers, and they look like something from 1,000 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
Now, these are the backside of those cove-top temples I would talk about that lined the sides of the Hebsed court.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, he just stood there. He just sat there on his donkey. He was talking to us.
Okay.
Stepped pyramid.
I think before Joseph's pyramid, I think used to call the pyramids mastabas. I think that was the name used to give them, I think.
There. So here you see the stepped pyramid. And when I was talking about these cove-top temples like this, they're aligned along the side. And I was standing in an area much like this right here when I took that picture going back this way, and you saw that figure emerging behind here.
The entity.
So here. So yeah, the stone I was sitting on was way back there at the end. And over here would have been about where that figure would have been. And I would have been standing up in here somewhere. So gives you just a little perspective from a different angle.
Oh, yeah.
That's John's daughter, by the way. Who she and my daughters hung out the whole time. And when I talk about when I had that vision that you could see everything, by the way, it's the city of Cairo all the way back there.
It's our after-hour show.
What's that, Dave?
Oh, I was explaining to the girls that they're not on the air. It's the after-hour.
I'm going to get off of this right now. Hey, you know what? You guys need to come and find a chair because I was going to have you on the after show here for a little bit to introduce you to everybody. I don't care. You can be tired. So, yeah, I was going to have you come in and sit over here and just for a minute or stand here like
daughters, Abby and
my
Bryn.
daughters are here. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn off the screen sharing for those pictures. I'm going to stop that. And whoever is still over here in the chat room, my daughters have arrived. And why don't you guys come on over? Just come on over here for a second and kick a box out of the way. You don't even have to sit if you don't want to. So this is Bryn,
Hi
one
there.
of my daughters, and this is Abby.
Hi, nice
And
meeting you.
so I've talked a lot about him on this show. And if
His twin
Brianna is
daughters,
here,
Abby
Brianna,
and Bryn.
these are my twin daughters, Abby and Bryn.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
become a joke almost with everybody. Oh, your twin daughters, Abby and Bryn, they would say. So,
I look great on this camera. Yes. For
oh
being
yeah,
in
for
airport
flying
tired.
all day.
Yes, we're very tired.
So
Yeah. But good.
I see that.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to be on air, I'm probably going to wrap this soon tonight. This is just the after show.
Cool.
No offense to anybody, just the after show. I said.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
spending your time here, so I can come up and talk to you for a little bit before everything's done. I was going to introduce you and have you come on and tell all about Finfolk.
Finfolk Productions.
Long
All of that
story.
stuff. It's a long story.
How much time do
So-
you have?
Yeah, how much time? So everybody, those are my daughters that you have not met,
Oh.
Abby and Bryn.
How many
Oh
people
my
do
god,
you
I
have?
lost my gym board.
Holy crap, Scotty has twin daughters? Well, there's only about 11 people watching.
Said nobody ever.
The first.
So yeah, there's just a small handful left over in the after show here that like to watch and hang on and have conversations. So
Cool. Hello, everybody.
all right.
I have
So I'll be upstairs in a few minutes. I'll give you proper
Cool.
hugs.
Cool. No worries.
So, well, he says. All right. So everybody, fantastic radio moment. My daughters
yeah.
making their radio debut. So on air, on screen. So on my show anyway.
You got a butt too.
So Michelle Canterbury says, I feel like I know him.
I do too.
So does Uncle Dave. So there you go. I'm not going to continue on so much. Oh, we got Professor Bauer. Didn't even know he was sitting in the stream. We'll just add him for a second.
Well,
Professor Bauer, I didn't even know you were there. I'd have brought you in a little earlier.
Hell, I forgot I was here.
Sorry about that.
I wanted to jump in while you were doing those pictures and and give you some one of the things that you and I have chewed on, the helicopter at Abydos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard about that. Yeah,
that's a product, in my opinion, a product of erasure.
I don't agree with that. I know that's what John says too, but I don't agree with that.
It's already been proven. It's you can break down what the 3 different inscriptions were that made up that, and so there's not even a question about it in my mind. That doesn't mean you don't have weird stuff out there, but you had 3 separate inscriptions from 3 separate pharaohs that, as they erased away or were scraped away and new ones put down, they left images there that looked like certain things.
Certainly, the one thing about that, and you and I went over this, we battled on it a few years ago, the complete restoration or whatever they did and changed things. I mean, it does not look like that in the panel. It matches everything else. And in addition, if they kept doing these restorations and peeling back and leaving some and adding to, doesn't answer the question, how in the hell did they come up with those shapes? Because they certainly were not anything that was native.
I can show you. I can actually demonstrate. Let's do that this next week. You and I,
do that.
Or maybe Monday, we'll do that during the show. We'll bring up some photos and show the 3 separate inscriptions and how.
Maybe you could get John to call in and explain his theory on it too.
Maybe that's doubtful. It would be like 3 in the morning to get him to do that. So,
anyway,
drink some black tea. He could get up at 3 in the morning. I stay up at 3 in the morning all the time. Chat with him.
John's theory, I can articulate his very well. He says helicopters posh.
Sounds like a typical Brit.
So, all right, guys, I'm going to wrap this show up because my daughters have arrived from out of town.
You need to get that family time in.
It's a chaotic
little bit
Friday.
of family time.
It's not the normal Friday.
So I'm going to drop you. Antone, thanks for being here. I sure appreciate it. Good to see you. We'll try again another time. We'll talk some more. And
good seeing you, Professor
Matthew,
Bauer.
Good to have you here.
Thanks very much.
Have a good night, brother.
Good seeing you, Matthew.
And Professor Bauer, good to see you as well. I'm sorry I didn't catch you earlier, but
that's
you
okay.
have a good night.
I fell asleep and then I heard my name and I woke up.
There you go.
Okay.
There it is. So I'm going to boot you now. Have a good night.
All right.
And Uncle Dave, you're here. You're just upstairs.
Yeah.
So I'll see you in a minute. All right, folks. So there it is. That's the show tonight. We're going to wrap it rather rapidly tonight because I'm going to get out of here. And I'm going to go visit my family. So you know what? Live long and prosper.